What if the world you know, its continents, its climates, its history, was completely rewritten overnight? Imagine the poles shifting, the oceans rising, and cities turning to ice in a single generation. Scientists call it geomagnetic reversal, but ancient legends call it something else, a world-ending cataclysm. Could Earth itself have once tilted so violently that entire civilizations vanished without a trace? Let's find out. Thousands of years ago, the Earth may have turned against its own children. Evidence hidden in ice cores, ocean sediments, and magnetic rocks suggests that our planet's poles haven't always been where they are today. The magnetic north and south have wandered for millions of years, sometimes moving slowly, sometimes abruptly. But what if, in the distant past, that shift wasn't gradual, but catastrophic? Imagine the poles shifting thousands of miles in just decades. The equator becomes a frozen wasteland. Tropical forests turn to deserts. Massive tidal waves sweep across continents as the planet's crust struggles to realign. For ancient people, it would have seemed like the end of the world. The sun rising in a new direction, the stars rearranging themselves, and the seasons collapsing into chaos. Modern scientists admit that Earth's magnetic field has reversed many times before. During these flips, the field weakens, letting deadly cosmic radiation reach the surface. But some researchers believe the consequences went far beyond magnetism. They speak of geological upheaval, sudden floods, and temperature swings so violent they could erase entire ecosystems and civilizations with them. In the ruins of lost worlds, from the frozen tundras of Siberia to the sands of Egypt, there are clues that something immense once shook the planet. Frozen mammoths still stand with undigested food in their mouths, as if a sudden freeze struck in an instant. Could this have been the mark of a polar shift? Across myths and mountains, whispers of this catastrophe remain. The Earth moved, and with it, history itself. But if the world truly shifted once, then perhaps the proof of that ancient disaster still lies buried, locked beneath the ice. Beneath miles of Antarctic ice lies a landscape that defies belief. Mountain ranges, valleys, and even what appears to be ancient riverbeds. Some satellite images and radar scans reveal geometric shapes buried deep below, sparking theories that Antarctica wasn't always frozen. Could it once have been home to a thriving civilization before a sudden shift plunged it into eternal ice? Ancient maps, like the famous ERASED map drawn in 1513, show the coast of Antarctica without ice, centuries before modern explorers ever saw it. The map's detail is so precise that it suggests the original source material came from someone who saw the continent before it froze. How could that be, unless ancient cartographers had inherited knowledge from a civilization that existed long before ours? Some scientists suggest that a massive crustal displacement, a sudden shift of Earth's outer shell, could have moved whole regions from tropical latitudes to polar ones. If that happened, the Antarctic continent might once have been lush and green, supporting life, before it was thrust into darkness and cold. Under the ice, research teams have found signs of ancient microbial life, strange magnetic anomalies, and mountains hidden beneath the surface. The evidence points to a truth we're only beginning to grasp. The poles have not always been fixed, and the civilizations that lived near them may have been wiped from memory when the Earth itself moved. The frozen continent may be the ultimate tomb, a silent witness to a forgotten age buried under ice thicker than skyscrapers. Yet the ice isn't the only thing preserving memory. Stories, too, have survived. Legends that speak of a world turned upside down. Every ancient culture tells a story of the world ending, not by fire, but by water and cold. The Hopi speak of great floods that came when the Earth's balance was lost. The Mayans describe cycles of destruction and rebirth tied to movements of the sky. The Egyptians spoke of a time when the sun rose from the west instead of the east. These stories, scattered across continents, share one eerie theme. The planet itself changed direction. The Bible's flood, the Sumerian deluge of Utnapishtim, the Norse Fimbulwinter, all describe catastrophic global transformations. What if these weren't mere myths, but memories of a real event, passed down in symbolic form? When the poles shifted, entire climates inverted, and humanity was forced to start over. In South America, Incan legends recall an age when the stars moved strangely and the seasons failed. Far north, the Inuit remember a time when the sky fell and the land froze overnight. The Chinese tell of the goddess Nua repairing the heavens after a cosmic disaster tilted the Earth's axis. Across these stories runs the same thread: a great upheaval, a reset, a world reborn. Could all of these myths be fractured memories of one shared global event, long buried beneath time and ice? If so, then the polar shift wasn't just geological, it was historical. It erased not only cities, but entire timelines, resetting the story of humanity itself. And where legend ends, science begins, revealing how such chaos might truly happen beneath our feet. For centuries, the idea of a polar shift sounded like fantasy. But modern science is beginning to catch up with ancient myth. Beneath our feet, molten iron churns around Earth's core, creating the magnetic field that protects us from deadly solar radiation. This invisible shield is what makes compasses point north, but it's far from stable. Scientists studying lava flows and ocean sediments have found that the poles have flipped hundreds of times in Earth's history. Each reversal leaves a magnetic signature frozen in rock, proof that what we call north and south have traded places again and again. The most recent major reversal, known as the Brunhes-Matuyama event, happened about 780,000 years ago. But smaller magnetic excursions, brief, partial shifts, have happened more recently, sometimes within human memory. During these chaotic periods, the field weakens, allowing cosmic radiation to reach the surface. Climate patterns go wild. Animals that rely on magnetic navigation lose their bearings. Some researchers suggest that such a disruption could trigger a chain of geological and atmospheric disasters, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and mass extinctions. The Earth is already showing signs of unrest. The magnetic North Pole is moving faster than ever, drifting from Canada toward Siberia at nearly 40 miles per year. Satellite readings show the field weakening over parts of the southern hemisphere. Could we be on the brink of another great shift? If history has taught us anything, it's that nature changes suddenly. And when the Earth moves, civilizations tremble. But if our world has shifted before, then someone, somewhere, must have survived to tell the tale. If a polar shift did erase a civilization, who, if anyone, survived? Ancient stories may hold the answer. Nearly every culture describes a handful of people who endured the world's destruction and carried knowledge into a new age. In Sumerian legend, Utnapishtim survived the deluge and rebuilt life after the flood. The Egyptians spoke of the followers of Horus, who emerged after the cataclysm to rebuild order. In South America, the god Viracocha appeared after a great darkness and taught humanity how to live again. Even Plato's tale of Atlantis ends with survivors spreading across the world to teach agriculture, astronomy, and writing. Could these teachers have been remnants of an advanced civilization wiped out by a sudden pole shift? If the Earth's crust moved thousands of miles, the survivors would have faced total chaos, rising seas, freezing winds, earthquakes, and lost sunlight. Yet, somehow, fragments of their wisdom, geometry, star maps, and calendars appeared almost simultaneously across distant lands. Perhaps they carried the memory of their drowned homeland, the world before, and built monuments like the pyramids, StoneAge, and Machu Picchu to mark the skies that once guided them. Each culture seemed desperate to preserve the same message: remember the heavens, for they control the earth. If true, then our entire recorded history might only be the second act of humanity's story, the first erased by the planet's own shifting skin. And if they remembered the world that was lost, maybe they also left maps showing what it once looked like. In 1513, the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis created a map that should not exist. It showed South America connected to an ice-free Antarctic coast centuries before Antarctica was officially discovered. Even more shocking, the map's latitudes and longitudes were nearly accurate to modern satellite measurements. Reis claimed he had compiled his chart from ancient sources. Other maps tell similar tales. The Orontius Phineas map of 1531 also depicts Antarctica without ice, complete with rivers and mountain ranges. These maps suggest that someone, long before recorded history, charted a world that looked very different from today. How could they have known? One theory suggests that before the last ice age, the Earth's poles were located in different places, leaving Antarctica in a temperate zone. When the poles shifted, the continent froze over, preserving whatever stood there beneath miles of ice. Modern radar scans beneath Antarctica reveal mountain chains, valleys, and even shapes that some say resemble man-made structures. Though the evidence remains uncertain, it fuels the idea that an ancient civilization once thrived there before being buried by a sudden shift. Perhaps those old maps are not imagination, but memory, fragments of knowledge passed down by survivors of the Great Turning. If so, the maps of our ancestors are not just guides to lost lands, but warnings written across time. And perhaps the Earth itself is sending its own warning, one rising from deep within its molten heart. Deep beneath our feet, the Earth's core is restless. Scientists have detected strange changes in its magnetic flow, eddies of molten iron shifting direction faster than ever recorded. These movements twist and stretch the magnetic field, weakening it in unpredictable ways. The South Atlantic anomaly, a zone where Earth's magnetic field is dangerously thin, has already expanded across parts of South America and Africa. Satellites passing through it glitch and fail, as if brushed by invisible storms from the core. To some researchers, this is a warning. The magnetic field may be preparing to flip again, and when it does, the results could echo the ancient cataclysm that erased the civilizations of old. Power grids would fail. Radiation would seep through the atmosphere. GPS systems would falter, and the northern lights could blaze over the equator. But the deeper danger might not be technological. It could be geological. A shifting field could disrupt Earth's crust, trigger volcanic eruptions, and alter ocean currents. The delicate balance that keeps our planet stable could shatter overnight. Ancient myths often spoke of the Earth groaning, the sky darkening, and fire and water devouring the land. These could be poetic memories of what happens when the planet's core rebels. Even modern science admits, we don't fully understand the forces within our world. The Earth is alive, its magnetic heart beating beneath us, and sometimes that heart skips a beat. And when it does, the question that remains isn't if, but when. History has a rhythm, and Earth moves to it whether we listen or not. The last major reversal took place nearly 800,000 years ago, but signs suggest we may be overdue for another. The wandering poles, the weakening field, the shifting core, all hint at a planet slowly preparing for change. If such an event came suddenly, civilization as we know it would struggle to survive. Satellites would fail, communication systems would collapse, and climate zones would shift violently. Crops would die, seas would rise, and billions would be displaced. Humanity would face not an enemy, but the raw force of nature itself. And yet, perhaps this has all happened before. The frozen mammoths, the sudden extinctions, the flood myths, they may all be echoes of that earlier apocalypse. If our ancestors once witnessed the Earth turn on its axis, then the ruins they left behind are more than relics. They are warnings. Still, there's hope in the pattern. The planet has survived every shift, and life has always found a way back. Civilizations rise, fall, and rise again. Maybe we're not facing an ending, but another reset, a reminder of how fragile and how resilient humanity truly is. When the next shift comes, and one day it will, the stars will change, the skies will move, and the world will begin again. The question is, will we be ready to remember what was lost last time? Because even as the Earth turns, its story isn't over, it's only resetting. The story of the polar shift isn't just about destruction, it's about rebirth. Civilizations may fall, but the Earth keeps turning, carrying our memories in its stone and ice. If we've lived through this before, perhaps we can endure it again, because, in the end, no force is greater than the world we stand upon, and no memory longer than that of the shifting Earth itself.